What was your reaction when Camron brought up all these old stories and everything about you?
I laugh, man. I got this thing, man. People laugh at the lies, but the truth always hurt. You know, lies are more entertaining. You heard? You get to laugh, you get the joke, but the truth is a serious thing, no matter how you look at it. The truth is what the truth is.
You are a guardian angel and designer. What the f is you talking about, man? You are not from Harlem. Why do you keep thinking that you are from Harlem, bro? You are not from Harlem. I did not grow up with you, man.
I was the CEO of Diplomats. I made Diplomats with him. I was with him for every bit of his journey. I held him down. I took that position of holding him down.
You was a fan. You begged us. You are a fan, nigga. A fan. So you can sit around and act like you've been around all this Harlem and everything. You ever see somebody from Harlem try to act like they from Harlem so bad that you got to keep saying, I'm from Harlem? From Harlem know who's from Harlem. You don't have to keep saying you from Harlem.
What if Jim Jones's life was just a long practiced act? Consider this. The man who claims to have introduced Mase and Camron to the world wasn't the mastermind. Rather, he was a fervent fan pleading for a place at the table. What if Jim is the one who owes them, and the facts are reversed? The reverse is not true. Remember the days when the streets were dominated by Dipset? Every vehicle, every block, and every party is blaring diplomatic immunity. It was more than just music. It was the code, the culture, and the movement. However, what if you discovered that the entire event was based on a fabricated tale? This suggests that the loudest member of the crew may not have been the actual perpetrator, just someone who shouted his name above the music and slid in at the perfect moment. Jim is frantically grabbing what remains of the spotlight, which appears to be slipping from his grasp as the truth emerges. However, how long can you pretend to be the boss before the actual architects return and take the credit in this game? Respect isn't given freely. It is earned.
You remember how we met? Pause. Not met, how you got cool with us? Basically, you heard our freestyles. And you came up to me one day when I was chilling in front of her. You said, yo, man, I heard the freestyles. Y'all killing shit. More freestyles come out. Y'all heard the new shit you did? Children of the Corn, 12-minute freestyle. Mase, Camron, Cardan, DJ Clout. Google Bloodshed and Camron, Children of the Corn, freestyle. Are you at any of these places? No, you was not there, man. You wasn't there.
Because the spotlight switched. You can't just rewrite your own rides or claim corners you've never hustled on. Don't pretend to be a legacy. From the block, you live it with grit, sweat, and love. However, Jimmy has been acting crazy for years, talking slickly, changing the chronology, and disobeying all the unspoken rules that the culture holds dear. The people who actually constructed it are now returning with the original blueprint and receipts, prepared to shatter the illusion he has been peddling. As if Mason Cam needed him to shine, he really had the guts to declare that he was the CEO of Dipset. That lacks confidence. That is outright identity theft. Imagine attending the grand opening as a mere face from Harlem and pretending to have established the enterprise. The wildest portion comes next. He states it as if it were true. History seems to bend around his interpretation. But after repeating the same tale to yourself for a long enough period of time, you begin to believe your own remix.
He needed to go on a diet. He needed to get his life together. He needed to go to the doctor and get a physical. He looked terrible, bad body, back ass. He looked big around the neck, waist looked crazy. I'm body shaming this. You heard? He needed to go get his together, get on the treadmill, do some push-ups, do something. You heard? Especially for playing.
But the truth doesn't remain hidden forever. The people who sacrificed for the brand eventually return to take back what is rightfully theirs. And believe me, they're not being polite. They're tired of seeing someone else use the name they came up with. Jim wasn't the only person Karen called out. He used for nasty words to blow away the entire illusion. You were a fan of ours. Boom. A single line that sums up to decades of narrative. This has nothing to do with injured pride or old grudges. This concerns legacy versus leeching and reality versus deception. Then Cam took over and wow, he did more than just talk. In a single sentence, he destroyed Jim's entire myth. The internet then went berserk, piecing together the puzzle piece by piece, and Jim's future is not looking good. At this point, everything begins to fall apart. Cam revealed the true problem. Too many individuals surround the great out of fear rather than loyalty. Fear that the mask will come off and the truth will be revealed. They didn't have it in the first place. Jim's entire persona was put together with used shine and borrowed stripes.
Yeah, listen, man. Listen. You were fanned out and you begged to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in. Mase actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
Mase taught me how to rap.
You say it. We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomats. Yeah, you ain't make none of this stuff. You was a fan. That's how you got down originally. Period. I heard the new you did. Yo, you want to come through? Come through. Why? Why are we going to Jomo's house?
However, the truce is already sliding through all the cracks, and the seams are breaking apart. Cam made it clear. You begin to cling to those who did the real labor when you never do it yourself. Jim didn't deserve to be there. Cam and Mase were already heading toward the city when he slipped through the side door. Jim wasn't the architect when the mixtapes were burning down Harlem. He was just another guy in the crowd, observing and hoping that someone would take notice. And let's not put this off. Jim stated unequivocally that he was Dipset's CEO. He didn't create that empire, though. Family? As it rose, he followed along and claimed the co-founder title as if it had been given to him for free. He worked hard in the hopes that no one would look at the chronology. And now that every move, verse, and collaboration has been revealed via receipts, many are asking themselves, was it all just a hustle to stay close to the ones who were really popping? This is the actual problem. Begging is the biggest red flag on the streets. You don't approach a crew by begging. You establish your value. Either you contribute or you remain passive. The code is that.
Stop tricking out their freedom, bro. This is gonna be the last time I address this. Whatever you got to say after this, good luck. I wish you luck. I got other to do.
And a long time ago, Jim cracked that code. Therefore, the question of whether he merits a place at the Diplomats table is not the only one. It concerns the amount of time he believed he could ride a wave that he did not build. When the waves finally break, the architects arrive with a plan and are prepared to destroy the entire fantasy. Volume isn't the point of hip-hop. It all comes down to consistency. Depending on who is listening, Jim's story changes. He will eventually be a co-founder. Just a faithful soldier the following day. What is it? The real ones don't change. Truth doesn't need to be edited, thus their story remains unaltered. Check this out now. Jim's previous interviews are the source of the receipts. The image he has been promoting for years is being undermined by his own comments. You cannot attempt to change history in 2024 by lying on camera in 2005, not when every file is available online. And your new story isn't only fragile when your old self reveals it. Your entire career is destroyed. There isn't a plot twist there. That is a storyline breakdown. Cam isn't making arbitrary shots. He claims to have proof as he lines up to play. Furthermore, it doesn't end with words when someone claims to have receipts on the street. That indicates that the truth is emerging. And any respect Jim believed he had vanished when it did. Listen to the tone. Cam is not yelling. He is cool, collected, and in charge. And there you have the evidence.
He taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. He was like, boy, once you figure out how to rap, the same way you act in these streets, it's gonna work for you. Just keep going. And that's all so I always gotta give credit to where credit is due and shit like that. It would be no Jim Jones.
Street-heavy demeanor, ripped muscles, reckless flexing, and unreachable barking. And one serene surgical takedown crushed everything like a Coke can. Cam isn't heated at all. He sounds worn out, as if he's battling a noisy neighbor rather than a true competitor. See, it's a clear sign of embarrassment when someone quits being angry and begins to sound bored. In essence, Cam claims that Jim is no longer worth swinging on. That's rudeness on a whole other level. Jim is trapped playing repeats from an unreliable story while Cam is making actual advances. What will Jim do now that he has been exposed from head to toe? Dangers. You have to use your last remaining card when the truth pushes you into a corner and your falsehoods are exposed. Fear, traditional panic. Jim is implying that he will divulge some really sinister information regarding Cam and Mase. However, notice that he is not disputing any of their quotes or facts. Wouldn't that be the first thing he would say if they were lying? No. Instead of responding to the actual charges, he begins body shaming. Indeed, Jim is ordering Mase to go to the gym as if we were in homeroom rather than hip-hop. A grown man insulting others in the playground sense. He has no receipts and even less credibility. He genuinely believed that making fun of someone's appearance would win them back. That demonstrates how far he has fallen. This is not a boss move. A man who is aware that he has already lost is acting like a clown. This is where the weird twist comes in. Jim continues to dismiss Cam's remarks as meaningless, dismissing them as mere online clout chasing. However, who is hopping from platform to platform, conducting interviews as though he were doing a documentary press tour? Cam Capone, double extra large. Jim is attempting to participate in the conversation with whichever microphone he is wearing. However, this is the most telling instance. All of that barking stops the moment the reporter asks him to explain what actually went wrong with Cam and Mase. That is the result of basing your entire persona on dubious falsehoods and borrowed characteristics. The entire plot unravels like a house of cards the moment anyone begins to pose meaningful queries. When Jim has the mic, he loves to talk tough. But when the questions become pointed and someone begins to reveal the layers, he stops talking. Only uncomfortable silence and the suspense of what might happen next. This goes beyond a simple fall from grace. It's a complete mental breakdown. A man who has spent so much time immersed in his own fictional world is now at odds with reality. It's becoming crazy. Then, suddenly, Cam delivers the last devastating strike. This is no longer trivial back and forth. This is profound. Cam is highlighting a trend that has existed in the game for many years. There is a trend where anybody who tries to work with Jim ends up in a worse situation than when they began. Cam put it best. That is not a leadership style. Leech energy is that. People are elevated by real bosses. When it comes time to level up, Jim drags people down, ties them up in drama, and then abandons them. The nail in the coffin comes when Cam discloses that Jim has been smearing him and Mase in the media for more than 10 years. This isn't new drama, it's personal and obsessed. Since that was the last time Jim was in the spotlight without someone else holding the torch. He got stuck in 2005. This is the most outrageous irony. As he talks about pursuing the bag and leaving a legacy, Jim repeatedly declares that he doesn't give a damn about rumors. However, who is posting back-to-back interviews all over the internet? Jim may be found on XXL, Cam Capone podcasts, and live broadcasts. The same person who says he's above the drama is using it to stay relevant if a camera is rolling. That is the final twist. But hold on, this isn't simply three heavyweights from Harlem fighting over Dipset. This is much larger. This relates to the culture's authenticity, who created it, and how they honed their craft. Regarding the distinction between those vying for influence and those having earned their place. The entire narrative of Jim Jones is becoming a guide for what not to do. A cautionary tale for image flippers who believe that earning respect is simple. In addition to winning, Cam and Mase revealed everything with receipts. Jim's own statements, discrepancies, and interviews. The reality was revealed when they held up a mirror.